Nice. Okay. Um, just gonna wait a couple minutes for people to come in, and we can start this presentation. It was just something I thought about doing a couple months ago, and since we've had a little bit of issues with people wanting to participate in this group, wasn't really sure where this was going to go, but I will be presenting this and just having a nice loose discussion about how to prepare for iron butt rides, because I do get the question a lot, and it's definitely one of those things that you can definitely benefit from. I mean, whether or not you end up doing like a large ride, just being able to plan accordingly and do any sort of uh, trip route visualization is definitely beneficial. Doesn't matter the distance. I will introduce myself real here. I'm Christine. I am the current chapter director for the Orange County Spirit Riders of Women on Wheels. This presentation is actually more of an independent project and part of a series of presentations that I started doing last year to answer the question of how does one get started when doing long distance rides, some of them solo. And even though I do belong to a motorcycle organization, many of the rides that I do personally are solo, mainly because my schedule usually doesn't line up with people, because with adults, all of our schedules are basically moving targets. And also because in many cases, the rides that I try to do cover a lot of miles in a very, very short period of time. So you're not going to get a lot of people who have that kind of schedule, the chance of them aligning, and then, on a short notice, having a person who can keep up with you and the pace that you choose to take. So, like, there's a lot of logistics going on with that. But what you can control is how you plan for these rides and how you choose to how do you visualize the way that you want it to go. Obviously, there's a lot of factors on the road that may not match your ideal situation, but the more that you plan, the less of a chance you have it of derailing you, because that is usually what happens, and how some rides just don't end up the way you want them to. I mean, there's good reasons why some rides don't end up the way you want them to, but the ones that don't end up the right way because of poor planning. So I'm going to just go ahead and talk about that and talk a little bit about the story behind, um, basically the story behind what is going to be my ride in May. So I really don't have a PowerPoint set up for this, mainly because when I first started thinking about creating this particular video, I originally thought, I'm going to plan for SaddleSore 1000, because that is probably the most basic ride. That it is the most basic ride. A SaddleSore 1000, if you do it through the Iron Butt Association, is a documented ride that the length or the distance is 1,000 miles, and you have to prove that you completed it within a 24-hour time frame. And these rides are self-regulated, and you choose your start, you choose your end, you choose your start time, you choose your end time. Everything is documented via dated business receipts and photos. And of course, when you are doing these, you have to be documenting as you are riding. So that is another level of organization, and you will develop a system based on uh, your motorcycle and how you conduct yourself at any gas stop, because you're doing these at gas stops when you're doing these dated business receipts, filling up gas and taking your break, using the restroom, all that fun stuff. Now, the nice thing about these 1,000 miles in 24-hour bits is the fact that it really will not take you, even if you have every possible horrible thing happen to you, it is very, very doable to complete the 1,000 miles in 15 hours. If you put in perspective, it takes a person, if they were to use their car and drive straight, like the distance from Los Angeles to Sacramento is approximately 500 miles. And if you think about that, most people that do this trip usually knock it out in about 7 to 8 hours. Okay, so that's 500 miles. And so you would then do it again. And that's another 8 hours. So that runs you to about 16 hours if you were to just go straight and not deviate. And the only breaks that you take are basically restroom and maybe for fatigue every now and then, and maybe a lunch. Taking snacks is highly recommended. So, in essence, if you're trying to do one of these, you're good to do it as long as you have mentally prepared yourself and you have physically prepared yourself, and your bike is totally fine. Obviously, when you prepare for any long ride, you need to make sure that your bike is well maintained. Things like that. And those particulars can be, well, let's see, best way to put it. Those particulars can be a topic of another discussion. I am focusing right now on the planning of the route and why I chose a particular route. So when I originally said that I was going to do a SaddleSore, and I've done quite a few of these. I've lost count, actually. I'll look it up, but I've done at least more than 5 of these style SaddleSore 1000s. And originally I'm thinking, because I only have 5 days to complete this because I have multiple jobs and things overlap each other, I was thinking in my head, okay, I got 5 days to complete this and I have to be home at a certain time. What can I pull off? And I knew that that particular weekend I was going to see a concert in Las Vegas. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, I could just go to Vegas. It's easy. It's only 240 miles. I've done the ride to Vegas just straight, and it's there and it's boring, and I've even tried to make it more interesting by entering, like bypassing most of I-15 and then going through Pahrump. I mean, I found ways to make it interesting. But I figured, you know what, let me have a little bit more fun. And so I said, why don't I go to a place, and this would require me to have to leave probably around Wednesday, which was fine because it was the end of one of my job stints. And I said, why don't I try to go to a Buc-ee's? That was something that piqued my curiosity. So one of the cool things about these iron butt rides is that you can choose your destination. And because I've done enough of these, I don't just choose a place, I choose a reason too. And one of those reasons was the proliferation of Buc-ee's and how it's actually growing. And I've realized right now that in 2025 is that the closest Buc-ee's to Los Angeles is 1,000 miles. It's actually about 1,080 miles from where I am here in LA to Amarillo, Texas. And the path is pretty much the entire duration of 40 all the way to Amarillo. Now, if you don't have a map in front of you, I-40 intersects at I-15. It is one of the few interstates, east-west, that doesn't actually go all the way to the ocean. Okay? So, there's Interstate 8, Interstate 10, and 70. Actually, 70 doesn't end. Now 70 and 80 kind of mesh together, and then 80, 90 kind of mesh together. So, but for the most part, 40 you have to be inland almost 2.5, 3 hours before you hit it at I-15, and then you enter it. And then there's this absolute nothingness for a while until you get to Flagstaff. So I figured, you know what? I could do this Buc-ee's ride, because if I go there and I go back to take the detour to Las Vegas, I'd probably be looking at about 2,200 miles to the entire trip in 5 days. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and really have no direction for this because literally nobody's watching this right now, and I'm just doing this for my own posterity. But I'm going to see if I can share a screen here. Let me see if I can do this. Maybe? Can I share a screen? Is this going to let me? Let's find out. Or maybe people are actually watching? You know, if you are watching, I'd love to hear from you. I'm hoping that I can actually see the comments. I don't think I can. But let me see if I can. Let's find out here. Because it would be cool if I actually saw that. All right. Well, I see Sharon. That's great. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. It's there's a yeah. Okay, now I'm seeing the comments. Now they're coming in. This makes me feel better. All right. Let me see if I can trying to see if I can share a screen because it's kind of I'm just trying to figure out why I can't share a screen, and that's where I'm kind of like, where am I? Do expand video. Okay. Maybe it's not going to let me? I don't usually use Facebook Live's database or interface, so it's just kind of a weird place to be. But I think, will it let me? No, it's not going to let me. It's not going to let me go stream, which I don't like about this because I want to stream something and I can't. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and verbally describe my route, and I'm going to verbally describe the original route, and then I'm going to go ahead and talk about the revised route because it's probably the best thing that I can do. And yeah, and then I will leave it open to questions. Since there's really no way that I can get voice, I'm going to look at the comments so that I can see what people are asking. And of course, you can always contact me directly and I can answer those questions for you. But this is more of a sample. And like I said, it does disappoint me that unless I start screen sharing from the get-go, it's not like Zoom where you can actually switch back and forth. I can't share a screen, and that actually disappoints me that I'm learning this the hard way. But, better I do this to a small audience than I do to a large one. That's what I'd like to say. So anyway, story goes is that I was thinking, well, I-40 is boring, but I can do this really quickly. And earlier this month, I was late March, I was in Tucson, Arizona for the Women on Wheels Wild West Fest. And I actually had a chance to experiment with this ride before. But from I-40, coming back from Tucson, you can take US 93 and zip up to Vegas. It is doable. It is actually the only route that, the only major route with a US highway that you would do to take it because there's no actual interstate that connects Phoenix from Las Vegas. And there's an entire story behind that. I actually went into that when I was traveling. So that's doable. So the original plan was very simply, because sometimes routes start simple, but you got to take some time to think about them. I'm going to start my ride in LA and then ride I-40 all the way to Amarillo and then stay for the night. That was the original plan. And then the following morning, get back on I-40, go back the other way, stop in Flagstaff, stop for the night, and then from Flagstaff right into Las Vegas. That made that the return would have chopped it into two trips of about 500 miles each, so that I wasn't running as hard as I was to get to Amarillo. But then I realized something, because Google Maps, you can always have fun with this and just try to figure out your mileage, is that there was a way that I could include another side quest. And the side quest involved crossing several other states that I have not done on my BMW. Now, little backstory behind this is that prior to the BMW R1200 GS that I use when I do these rides, I used to have a 2007 Yamaha FJR 1300 that I put nearly 220,000 miles on. And that bike is currently in stasis lock. That's what I like to call it. It's in hibernation. And so I acquired the Beamer in 23 in a response to that. Now, I'm slowly hitting states with this bike now. With the FJR, I was within 4 states of hitting all contiguous 48. I was so close. So, for me, tagging states is more of an achievement that I've wanted to do and I'd like to do, personal bucket list, is to complete it on at least just one single bike. I'd love to just do it on one bike and say one bike did this all. And I'm nearly on my way there with the West. But I realized something because I had done these rides. I had done this. I traveled this area before. Is that there were some states that I haven't tagged, and being in Amarillo, Texas, which is the top end, the top part of Texas, it's like the thinnest end or thinnest portion, is that I could cut into using US 54 from Amarillo. I could cut into the tiniest part of Oklahoma, and I could also cut into Kansas. And then heading out back up to Colorado, crossing Colorado, and then re-entering I-15 via Utah. So then here's where it gets fun. What are the states that I have not tagged with the BMW as of yet? Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Utah. So let's just take it out. And then to add even more to the twist, we've got Colorado, which I passed through last June when I did my Iron Butt BunBurner Gold 1500, which I successfully did. That's 1,500 miles in 24 hours for those who don't know what that terminology is. And I realized that there was one place that I wanted to stop by on my way back to Vegas. And this comes from my other weird thing where I have a thing about visiting IKEA stores. So to add to the fun, and this is a weird statistic, but in regards to all of the IKEA stores in the United States west of Texas, there's only one store left that I have not visited. That one's located in Centennial, Colorado, right at 70 and 25 near Denver. And by doing the route that I am planning, where I go up through Liberal, Kansas, and then head back up to Centennial, I will hit that IKEA, and I will take that out as well. So this is me just chucking boxes like a fiend. And then the plan is, because of that, and I realized that I would just be adding another about 500 miles, 600 miles to this excursion. That means I just upgraded this ride. It's no longer an IBA SaddleSore 1000. It's now a BunBurner 1500. And if I complete the ride in under 30 hours, it will gain silver status. Do I want the gold status? No, because you literally can't stop if you try that. But silver status, easy in 30 hours, can be done. So it basically got itself an upgrade. But at the same time, am I still going to make it in time when I run across 70 and then down 15? Doing the math, that detour, that even though it looks so large, only adds 350 miles to my overall total, eventually getting back to Los Angeles. So yes, is it doable? Of course it is. So that is how the evolution of a route happens. You think about where you want to go. And if you are open-minded enough to figure out like something that's going to make sense to you or something that you can benefit from while you're trying to tag your destinations and stuff like that. Because here's the thing. If I go back and calculate when I would be leaving, and it would be much easier if I had a map for this, but I hope you can visualize, is that if it takes 15 hours, 15 to 17 hours with no complications to take the 1,000 miles, that means that if I were to leave at, let's say 10 p.m. on Wednesday night, and my goal was to get there by Thursday, assuming nothing happens, by 1,300 hours on Thursday, which is 1 p.m., you'd be at Buc-ee's. Okay, that's great. Now I have to go hit the last part, which is the final 500 miles, which is another 8. So then that means by 9:10 p.m., I would be in Centennial, Colorado. And the thing, too, is because it's May, we're already daylight savings time. We already have sunsets that are not going to be happening until almost 8 p.m., which means that my time in darkness is going to be pretty minimal, assuming that I don't end up spending 6 hours at the Buc-ee's, which I don't think I will. I'm thinking in my head right now that my time in Buc-ee's is probably going to be somewhere around, I don't know, 2 hours at worst, because really it's not a Meijer, you know? So And also, since my plan is to stay in Colorado, in Centennial for the night, if it turns out that I get there too late and I'm not able to visit the IKEA at 9 before they close at 9 p.m., well then I just have to go tomorrow, right? Obviously, I don't need to shop at IKEA, but I would like a meatball sundae. At least get something. Because one of my rules is when I visit an IKEA, I do have to buy something to say that I went. And one of those things is either usually an ice cream or a meatball sundae, or if it's lunchtime, I will actually eat lunch there. That's my rule. And also, I got to take the appropriate selfie that, hey, look at me, I'm in front of this IKEA. Um, so that will officially be, I believe that will be either the 22nd or 23rd IKEA unique store that I have visited, full store. I do have some that I have visited on the East Coast, and I have several that I visited in Canada, so I do have a little bit of that. But in terms of every IKEA store in the United States west of Texas, this is the final one I need to hit. The next closest one after that, going westbound, is Salt Lake City. I visited that one back in 2010, so we're fine. Actually, I think it was like 20 was it 2010 or 2011. Anyway, one of those years, I did go to that one. I ended up driving all the way across there. I was going to like my ex-husband's friend's wedding, and it was in Salt Lake. And so, of course, I made a point to stop at that IKEA. It was one of the few things that he would actually be cool with. But there's a reason why he's an ex. Anyway, so yeah, that is pretty much the story behind that, and how and I take it that Bucky's, I am taking requests as to what people want. I know I have a friend I'm staying with when I make it to Las Vegas, and I did promise him that I'm going to give him something cool. And then there's these like beaver nuggets that I keep hearing about. I think it's just a nice term for like their beef treats or whatever. The chews, like looks like beef jerky, but like they're chunks instead. But there's like a lot of really good stuff. I'm reading up on all of the crazy things that you can get at a Bucky's, and because they're open 24 hours, it technically doesn't matter when I'm there, but I would prefer to go there during the day, when it's normal. And the nice thing is, because it is a Bucky's, it's a gas station. Well, that is my ultimate destination. My destination, my final dated business receipt for the 1,000 portion of this ride is going to be the Bucky's gas station, wherever the hell that is. And then I can take my break. And since I'm not shooting for, 24 hours gold status, I can mosey my way up. And also the ride back on I-70, because it's going to be May when I'm doing this, temperatures will be just fine. I will say, in my opinion, that I-70, in terms of riding it without being rushed, is by far one of my most favorite ones. Favorite things. And mainly it's because of the twisty part, heading through Aspen, and the elevation change, which cools down everything by almost 20 to 30 degrees. That's probably one of my most favorite parts of using using I-70. And it's just beautiful. It's fun, and it actually keeps you alert, because you do have to, it's not a straight line. So I do appreciate that part. But yeah, so aside from that, in terms of planning, the main snag, and this one gets a lot of people, is that if you're ever, and this is just something for anyone who's choosing to use I-40 to either come to me in LA or to ride out, okay? The distance between Barstow, which is the city at I-15, I-40, okay, that is Barstow, California. The distance from that to Needles, California is 141 miles, okay? At about the 120-ish mark, there's this city called Essex. Now, it's not even a city, it's like a town. It's literally one gas station. And they know that they are the only gas station on I-40 in that entire stretch all the way to Needles. It's 2025, and this is still a problem. It is a Chevron. And it is the most expensive gas station, probably one of the most expensive gas stations in the state of California, because of its scarcity. So, just a piece of advice: if you are on a motorcycle that does not have a huge gas tank that can't pull 140 miles to Needles or back to Barstow, I would suggest bringing a gas can, unless you want to get destroyed. Yeah, if you want to get destroyed, because the gas is going to be 2 to 3 times more expensive than a standard gas station anywhere. I think the most that I have spent or that I've paid for a gallon of gas in Essex, I believe, was about $9. And this is in normal time. This wasn't even like regular, like, this wasn't even peak season. It was bad. So, piece of advice for anyone taking I 40. I hope you have a motorcycle that can pull 140 miles in a gas tank. Mine can. Even if I am hauling ass, I am still averaging close to 41 miles per gallon hauling ass, anywhere between 38 and 41. And with a 5 gallon tank, I can easily pull close to 200 miles. So what I'm going to do is that unfortunately that's very early in my ride. I'm just going to goose it and just fill up in Barstow and then just goose it all the way to Needles, because Essex, there's no point in getting that dated business receipt, because once you fill up in Needles, you're good. You'll still have California priced gas, but it's not going to be Essex priced California gas, because, like I said, they will slaughter you. It is one of the, you just look it up. Seriously, just look up that gas station in Essex, ESSEX, by the way. It is a nightmare, and people talk about how badly it's gouged, and then when you go there, it has these signs explaining why they're so freaking expensive. Not even kidding. It's funny as hell. So yeah, just be careful about that. Um, yeah, so that is that. I mean, I don't expect any issues with 40 the remainder of the way. I have taken that ride. That was actually part of the ride that I did as part of my BunBurner Gold, was 40 and 25. It was literally 40 to Albuquerque and then 25 straight back up, all the way to Casper, Wyoming. So this is actually a repeat of my ride last year, except that it is a month earlier, and it also involves me going back west. Uh, it's basically a giant circle. The warmest part that I'm anticipating is that Las Vegas is now averaging 90 degrees during the day. It hasn't reached the triples yet, but it will be warmer once I get to Las Vegas. But I don't foresee it being too bad going home. It's always hot on I-15, but as long as you're moving and you're properly managing that airflow, you're fine. So, yep, that's my total there. So in a 5 day span, I'm looking at close to 25 to 2,700 miles. I do not expect any detours. There are no reports of any. This is one thing I always have to look for, is there are no reports of any major construction on any part of that interstate that's going to force me to redirect in a bad way. There was one year that I-29 in Iowa, I had to do a 300-mile detour because of the flooding. Now, that's not happening this year. So, just something to think about. Um, and it's it's going to be, scarcity of gasoline is always going to be a fun time. It's just something that they want to say that they're not capitalizing, but they are full of crap. They are capitalizing on it because they know that they are an important resource, and they're going to gouge you like silly. And it's embarrassing, it is what it is, but, that's why you have to prepare and plan accordingly and hope that nothing really happens. So that's kind of where we are. Um, but yes, when planning, you just got to think of the logistics. You got to think about what your bike is capable of, what it can do, what are you capable of. These are little tidbits. So there is, and it's on my YouTube channel, but there is uh, and I'll find it. Actually, I can put the link in the comments here. But I did a presentation on preparing, like, things to consider for a long distance ride, and I can share that because I did this one last year, and also other sorts of fun things. So let's take a look here. I should have that motorcycle thing. Uh-huh. There it is. Cool. And actually, there's a couple. So Um, there were two I did. So one of them was called Ironbud 101 How to Get Started. Now I should be able to throw that one into the comments. And so this one is Ironbud 101 How to Get Started. And then this one that I'm going to share is How to Get Started with Long Distance Motorcycle Rides, which is more of a general primer for people that haven't done much of this. So I just realized that I've actually done this before. I've actually done this before, which doesn't surprise me that I'm. But I did want to go into what I thought about, how to do one of these, and how sometimes a ride will just evolve itself. It's those are the things that will come about, because sometimes you just get this ounce of inspiration and you'll say, you know what, I could do more than that. I don't need to double back on 40. I can see some other stuff. This can be more fun than I'm originally planning this to be, because when people do iron butts, it's not just get the miles done. You're trying to get somewhere in a quick piece of time, but you're also marking a lot of distance here. So there is a perk to doing all of this, is that you get to see a lot in a very short period of time. Now, to answer the question of do I carry spare gas tank with you, the answer for me is no, because to be fair, I usually don't like my bladder to outlast my gas tank, and so I do make stops much sooner than people think. Uh, so when I'm pacing on Iron Butt, it is not common for me to continuously run my gas tank down, because when I usually do like a full, I call it my full gas tank run, it's approximately 160 to 170 miles straight without stopping. I've done that a few times. There are certain points where that would be a thing. I foresee, depending on, and it also depends on how I feel. If I feel like I can just run this and like I'm in a groove and I can just hit that, I'll do it. But in most cases, my stops are usually in about the 120 to 130 range at the most. Mainly because if I'm trying to complete an Iron Butt 1000, like a 1000, I don't need to treat my pit stops like I'm racing NASCAR. Now, when I was attempting the BunBurner Gold 1500, I did everything in my power to keep my rest points less than 10 minutes long. Because if you think about it, if you're resting, and you make like 15 stops, 10 times 15 is 150 minutes, which is 2 hours, a little more than 2 hours of your time. And you're already pacing yourself to have to finish the 1524. So most of my stops when I was doing at gold status, I was keeping it actually closer to maybe, yeah, less than 10 minutes long. I mean, sometimes it would be fill up, pee, whatever is appropriate, and then go back, go run. Obviously, I have to document my stuff, but it was literally like no dilly dally. Throw a few snacks in your mouth, and then go. And yeah, I do have my hydration set up too, so that's on my bike. I'm drinking while I'm riding. I got the water with the ice. It's really nice. Straw in the cockpit, stick it under the helmet. You good? I've got my audio. Cool. So yeah, it's I'm suited up for that. But yeah, I don't like running my gas tank. I mean, occasionally if I make the decision and I'm feeling pretty good, and most of the times that I'll do that, it's usually when I'm riding through the night. I know that a good portion of the beginning of this ride, if I'm planning to leave at like 10 p.m. on a Wednesday, is that I'll be running the first, if sunrise is approximately 5:30 because of daylight savings, that means that I will be running the first 7 hours in the night. But here's the thing. What part of I-40 am I running through the night? It's going to be the first boring part through Essex, Needles, and by the time the sun rises, I probably should be entering Arizona by then. And that's okay. Because Arizona's pretty at sunrise. I've done that around a couple times. So it's just something to think about for that. So to answer the question here, do you research the open times and distance between gas stations? Yeah, it is possible to do. When I was really planning for the BunBurner 1500 Gold, I did try to stay as close as I could to the gas station allotments. Now, if you're using a Mac, and I know I wish I could have, I know it's all verbal, and some people need visuals, But the software program that I use to do these routes, it's called InRoute, and I'm gonna put it on. I'll put it on the comments. But InRoute is the Apple iOS um, planning software that I use, and it will allow you to search all of the gas stations and set up the stops within a certain allotment of mileage. It's really, really useful for that. When I was doing it more seriously, in terms of like, with a BunBurner Gold, you can't make any mistakes. But since I'm not putting all pressure on myself right now, I'm aiming for a BunBurner Silver. Okay, I don't have to be so severe about it because I think about it. Barstow, which, I mean, if you go to Vegas as often as I do, Barstow is a normal stop. I have a routine. There's like a particular gas station in Barstow that I do fill up at because it's right next to a Panera. Unfortunately, when I do this run, it's going to be closed. So I'm probably going to use one of the other gas stations that's closer to I-15, like right at the exit. But usually during opening hours, I would usually stop at this one Panera, and there's a Pilot right across the street, and that's usually where I fill either on my way to Vegas or to go home. But I'm thinking about it, and it's like where I'm stopping, all those places have gas stations. I'm stopping in major towns. So the longest haul that I have to make on I-40, for example, is Barstow to Needles. Needles is going to have gas stations. They have a ton. I'm good. And then on the way to Flagstaff, there's going to be multiple stops. It's not going to have the same drought because there are far more gas stations on I-40 past Needles going toward Arizona. And then once you're in Arizona, you can't go more than 20 miles at most points without seeing a gas station. So you're safe, and that's okay. Yeah, so yes, when you are planning a ride, you do want to factor in the distances because there are still parts of the country where it could be upwards to 75 to 80 miles between a gas stop. So you do have to take that into consideration if you are doing a ride like this and you're not familiar with the area. So it's just something to also keep in mind. Thankfully, this is actually going to be a pretty easy route. And the funny part is that up in Colorado, there's another Buc-ee's right past IKEA, heading westbound on 70, which I'm kind of laughing about. So I technically could visit two Buc-ee's if I felt like it. But in all the intents and purposes of this particular route, I'm going to the one in Amarillo because Buc-ee's is a Texas company. It would not make sense for me to go to a Buc-ee's in Colorado when I know it's based in Texas. Like, it just wouldn't make sense to me personally. By the way, for those people who are still watching, and I do appreciate the people who are online right now, if you are interested in going to a Buc-ee's and don't want to go to Amarillo, Texas, and you're willing to wait until 2026, Goodyear, Arizona is expected to get one. Just saying. So if you really, really want to see one and don't want to go all the way to Amarillo, there you go. You can have that. But yeah, it's definitely an adventure. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. And it's just that whole ongoing thing of, I can only do so much in a very limited, period of time, so let me just do it. And for some reason, this is where I get my entertainment. So yeah, call me crazy, but it's fun for me. And I like to share this because there are people out there who find this fun too. So, yeah. With that said, I mean, that's pretty much my discussion on this particular ride that's going out in May. I'm going to be doing this actually Mother's Day weekend, and the reason being is because May 10th, which is Saturday, the Saturday before Mother's Day, I'm going to be in Las Vegas to see a concert. It's Josh Groban, because I can be a crazy and I can be a nerd too. Josh Groban is one of my favorite musical artists, and he's doing a 5-show, mini, I don't know, you call that a residency, it's only 5 shows, but he's at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace where Celine Dion used to perform. So I'm like, yeah, I got tickets for that, like on pre-sale. I get that news quick. So, yeah, I mean, Buc-ee stops might be funny. That one definitely could have some fun, but the thing is that Until 2026. I mean, once that Bucky's, because the land is already flat. You know, they just need to build the damn thing, because that puts Bucky's 360 miles away from LA. I mean, it could be fun. I could start looking at that, but then I also realized, like for example, one of the Bucky's is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm all like, no, I'm not going back to Kentucky. Do I look like I want to go back to Kentucky? I did 4.5 years in Ohio. I can't do that again. It's like, nope, nope, nope. I have certain boundaries and levels of self care that I need to keep on. Uh, However, though, I do have a $10 gift card to Cracker Barrel, so I might actually eat at Cracker Barrel or something, which is good because they have clean bathrooms, and I like their sweet tea, so that's cool too. Um, all right. So yeah, I mean, I just want to open the floor for some questions. I mean, obviously, I've been reading your comments, and getting those there. I mean, if you are looking at like considering a spare gas tank, there's some that I've seen. They're pricey, but they fold flat. They're actually like a they use them on dirt bikes. Um, I'm gonna find them because it's like a gas bag. Yeah, it's called an armadillo bag. I remember when these came out, and I'm just gonna shove the link here for everyone if you are curious about it. But an armadillo bag basically is a soft bag that is certified to carry fuel. It is a little pricey. To be fair, for the kind of stuff that I'm doing, it's completely unnecessary because I'm not traveling in remote areas that don't have gas. Um, I mean, you could get the little gas. They're these bottles. It's made by a company called MSR, and they're technically not supposed to be used for like automotive gasoline, but people use it for that anyway. But it's like a liter, and it fits like in your top case or your side case. That could be a potential, but yeah, this is the. I'll put this in the comments as well, but it's the soft gas container. So that means it rolls up, and then you only, unless you need to fill it up at a gas stop before you go, so that you're not be carrying around, an additional, because even though fuel is lighter than water, it still carries weight. There's a few reasons why I do not have an R1200 GS Adventure. Let's just put it that way. But I'm going to throw that in there. That's for you. And it's a nice idea. I like the idea. I mean, there's a lot of people who have smaller uh, bikes, like smaller tanks. The R1200 GS is a very generous tank at 5 gallons, and I have really, in my riding career, have never needed more than that, and it's been fine. So I don't know. I mean, as I said, it is a personal. Yeah, if you have one of those MSR fuel bottles, if you really need it in a pinch, yeah, use it. I mean, that's what they're for. But it's enough to get you. I mean, a liter of gas, 20 miles, maybe. Eh. Yeah, I mean, at least it'll get you somewhere. So you're not. I mean, I do have some funny stories of how I got stranded near Essex. I had an SV650. I ran out of gas. That was embarrassing. What are you gonna do? This is what happens when I was riding with a bunch of Goldwings, and a group is only as the range of a group is only as far as the smallest gas tank, and unfortunately that was me at the time. I have since then resolved that, but still. Yeah. So that's the plan. That'll be me in May. Um, oh yeah, I forgot to mention too, in terms of tracking, I will be using Spotwalla, and it'll be tracking through Bubbler GPS, which is the app that is currently the one for Android, because I do run a two cell phone system, one specifically for GPS tracking. I also will be, for this year, reactivating my Garmin. Um, it's the I forget what the name of that thing is, but it's Garmin InReach. I do have a messenger, a Garmin InReach messenger, and I have that will be hanging off of my jacket. but I will be reactivating that in May because it's a monthly plan. Um, and so I will have two methods of tracking to ensure that it actually helps with Iron Butt rides, is because I am an Iron Butt Premier member, so I can have my rides certified very quickly if I do it that way. So, and also it's a nice way for people if they have the link, which I can share, for people to track where I am and my location and how I'm doing. So I also have other GPS trackers that are active while I am riding, and those are like for family and friends. And that one is actually a little bit more accurate because it's real time. And yeah, the answer is yes. I can share those links when I get closer to this ride. So those will be available. So one of the this is the one that I use. This is the app that I do use when I'm using my Android. This one's really nice because I find that this one is very, very useful. And I have to find it. It's called Real-Time GPS Tracker. I'll see if I can find the Google app for this one. I gotta find it, but let me see. See what it's officially called because I do have it on here. Let's see. Oopsie. Oh yeah, it's called Real-Time GPS Tracker 2. So I'm going to go ahead and find that for you. And this one comes in handy. I do like this one because it's free. I mean, it does rely on some cell phone coverage, but this is a great one to use if you're just having people. It's kind of like Life 360, but doesn't have the same kind of it doesn't have the same kind of like you need to create your family network and stuff like that. It's just like whoever's got the link can follow you. And then also you can set up safe zones so that it will not track if it's in a sensitive area. For example, I have like a half a mile radius around my actual home address when I have the tracker on. And I can set that up with my account. So like it doesn't actually start tracking until I am past the bubble that I tell it not to track in. It's pretty cool. But anyway, this is a really cool app if you have an Android device. In order to get people to follow wherever you are, I actually have this customizing, this customary thing where I have friends who actually, when I go to long distance things, I make sure that they have that link so they can actually follow me when I'm doing it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. But that said, I'm really kind of like can't think of anything else to discuss tonight. Like I said, you can always message me, and with any questions, if you're thinking about if you're throwing a route out and you want some ideas, or just at least some of the logistics to think about it, definitely I would be more than happy to share those things with you based off of my own experience. I've done these, like I said, I've done these a few times before. I'm proud to say I have. And they are doable. I mean, they're daunting, I mean, I still have my moments where I feel a little nervous when I'm dealing with these kinds of things, but ultimately, once you get through it, everything's okay. And obviously you did the thing that you said you were going to do, and that's what matters in the end. So, yeah. Let's see. But yes, if you do have other questions, I would love to hear from you. I'm gonna go ahead and there's also that other thing of endurance and getting through these rides. And one of the if someone asks me like what are the biggest keys in terms of preparing physically for a ride like that, well, the big one is making sure you're hydrated all the time. I will have to say that. The second thing is being in shape, okay? And I'm not saying like you're going to the gym 5 times a week, but you do need to have you need to be active with your cardio. especially in those 11th hours when you're just tired and everything like that, and you're worn out. Is definitely working on the cardio, the endurance. That's a huge thing. Now, of course, my advantage is that I'm a hockey player, and that I am uh, very active. Usually, I actually was at the gym today. Uh, that that getting your body just used to just taking those kinds of hits. Um, in the long run, it makes your ride a lot more comfortable because you don't feel as winded and worn out. Because being on a motorcycle is a physical activity, so definitely keep up your fitness. Keep up your fitness, keep up your hydration. Be aware of how you feel. One of the things I started doing now, especially with everything getting warmer, is I keep electrolyte tablets on my bike, and when I'm at gas stops, I'll just pop two in my mouth and suck down a bunch of water to just increase the amount of electrolytes in my system, because as you sweat, that's the stuff leaving your body. So, some things to think about when you are considering riding in slightly warmer weather. And that's also one of the reasons why, as much as possible, I love riding through the night, because I don't sweat as much. I don't have to worry about the heat kicking my ass, because it's much cooler at night, obviously. Alrighty, well, with that being said, I hope everyone has a good evening. I kept this under an hour. And I'll probably yank this off of here and put it on YouTube. And, you know, you can always subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see this very raw avant-garde discussion. And also, yeah, be safe, ride out there, ride safe out there, enjoy yourself, take those miles in, and do whatever makes you happy. The only person that can stop you is you. And just know your limits, and know where you can stretch them sometimes. That's a huge thing too. So anyway, to everybody, have a great evening. Great to hear from you. I appreciate the amount of stuff here that I was able to cover this evening. And if I see any other comments that I didn't address during this broadcast, I will definitely address them. And of course, feel free to contact me at any time. So have a good evening from Los Angeles. This is Christine, and I will see you on the road sometime.